Good morning. It is Thursday, May 30th, just after 5 a.m. And I'm back with you for another session on what I call scanning, spelled S-Q-A-N-N-I-N-G. Scanning is the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. That's all we're doing. Incrementally releasing muscular tension. This simple act can induce a more expanded state in your body and your mind, can clear your mind, it can bring you to a place of silence, peace, quiet, stillness, clarity. The world, the universe, basically functions on the basis of two fundamental processes: contraction and expansion. Contraction, squeeze your hands together. Expansion. This is the continuum on which we exist. Our bodies are a contraction, bringing together materials, forces, skin, flesh, bone, cells, personality, ego, intellect, contraction. When we die, we expand. It goes in the opposite direction. We turn to dust, until at which point we reassemble into something else. So if you accept that basic premise that we operate on this continuum, we spend most of our day, most of our time, most of our lives contracting, thinking, doing, reading, speaking, building, acting, worrying, bringing together ideas, working them through, working them over, contracting. We spend a lot more time typically contracting than we do expanding, which is why we move into an unbalanced state. We feel, to be perfectly general about it, bad. So what scanning does is it infuses into your life a balance. It teaches you, it reminds you that in order to have a balanced, centered life, you need to expand as much as you do contract. Then you come to center. You can't stop contracting. You would not be able to function in your life. We must get up, we must go to work, we must do, we must speak, we must think. I would suggest that because of the internet, because of the communication explosion that's happened in the past 10, 20 years, there's a lot of contracting going on. If you go on the internet, there's people theorizing, proclaiming the answers to world politics, government, health. Everybody has an idea which they're promoting, which is good. We need ideas. Those are contractions. So we're heavily contracted now. My goal is to introduce a consciousness of the equal value of expansion, to bring expansion into your life, to bring us to a more balanced, clear, hopefully helpful, happier place. So that's all this is. Scanning is a form of expansion through the incremental release of muscular tension. Muscles can either contract or expand. They can't do both at the same time. When you begin to expand by releasing muscular tension, you move yourself into a more expanded state. So that's all we're doing, releasing muscular tension incrementally. It doesn't matter how little you do it. Go from this to this, you've expanded. You can't contract and expand at the same time. Any movement towards expansion brings you into balance. So let's start. We start every session with a series of deep breaths and stillness and silence. Stillness is the opposite of action. Silence is the opposite of speech, noise, thought. So we immediately bring ourselves into a more expanded state through the simple act of stillness and silence. This is how we start. And it's amazing how difficult it is sometimes just to sit in stillness and silence. So that's how we begin. We take a deep breath, which is in itself expansive, followed by 15 seconds of absolute stillness and silence. Don't move a muscle. Be like a frozen frame. Sends a very clear message to your body and your mind that you have stopped doing. Deep breath. 15 seconds. Don't move a muscle, but continue to breathe. Deep breath. At its most basic, scanning is stillness and silence. We will continue into the what I call nuts and bolts of the process, which is muscular release. But at its most basic, if you want to begin scanning, or whatever you want to call it, just sit in stillness and silence. 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. This is the basis of a lot of forms of self-help meditation, all sorts of processes. I'm not doing anything different than the 1,000 other techniques out there. We all kind of understand on a fundamental level what we need to do to expand, to feel better. And it takes many different forms. This is the form I've come up with that works for me. and it was designed for simplicity and ease of learning. If you can sit in stillness and silence, you've learned to scan. If you can release muscular tension, 3, 2, 1, release, you've learned to scan. Don't need to read any books, don't need to attend any lectures or go to any classes. You've learned it. All you need to do now is start practicing it. So now we'll take another deep breath and sit a longer period of time, 30 seconds in absolute stillness and silence. Deep breath. 30 seconds. Absolute stillness and silence. Don't move a muscle, but continue to breathe. Deep breath. Take a moment to see how you feel, how that feels different than how you felt, say, 5 minutes ago. An interesting thing always happens to me when I begin to scan, and it just happened just now. I got to about 28 seconds and I forgot what I was doing or why I was here. Just for a minute, I just drifted off and I went, what am I doing? Perfect. Perfect. Paying attention. As a dryer just went off in the other room and it had this beeping sound going on, and I immediately thought, what is that? Do I have to empty the dryer? Paying attention to things is a contracted process. When you begin to expand, you stop paying attention. Attention, isn't it interesting that part of the word attention is tension, it's holding. So as you begin to expand, you stop paying attention. You stop feeling the need or the compulsion to analyze and think about everything that's happening around you, everything that's going on in your mind. This is what brings you to that place of peace. You begin to let go. That's what expansion is. You can't live like this. You have to pay attention. You have to do things and accomplish things. But you can take 5, 10, 15 minutes, a half an hour a day to take a break from all that attention, bring yourself to a more expanded place. So that's what we've begun to do. We're going to do it one more time. This time we're going to sit for 60 seconds in absolute stillness and silence. You're going to take a deep breath and sit in absolute stillness and silence. And if thoughts are racing through your mind, that's fine. Those will begin to dissipate. As your muscles and body become still and relaxed, so does your mind, and it lets go of the grip it has on all these obsessive thoughts. So let them be there. But know that at the end of this half hour, they probably will have drifted off. Put your full concentration into these tasks, and the rest will take care of itself. Deep breath, 60 seconds, absolute stillness and silence. Here we go. As still as you possibly can, but continue to breathe. Deep breath. And just take a moment to register whatever changes you feel. It will be different for everyone. But it's very important in scanning to note that change, because the journey from this, squeeze your hands together, to this, release, is scanning. The movement you've made on that spectrum, the distance you've traveled from a contracted place to an expanded place, however small or incremental, is the purpose of scanning. So any changes you feel, however slight, if you feel a little more still, if you feel a little more comfortable in your chair, if you feel in less of a hurry, if you find yourself not thinking so much about whatever it was you were thinking about before you started, you've begun to expand. And you've done that, excuse me, through the stillness and silence and what we're going to do next, which is the incremental release of muscular tension. I always say squeeze your hands together, 3, 2, 1, release, because that's scanning at its most basic, release of muscular tension. If you take nothing away from these sessions, then the idea that a few times a day I can pay attention, be conscious of the fact that I have a choice between contraction, 3, 2, 1, and expansion, or I have a choice between doing, thinking, and sitting in stillness and silence. You have that choice. If you take nothing away from these sessions but that consciousness that you can move yourself on that spectrum, you can bring yourself to an expanded place, you will have achieved a great deal. Because we tend to think we're not in control of our state of being. We're not in control of where we are, that when we're contracted, there's nothing we can do about it except have a drink, smoke a joint. These are what I call chemical expansions, or some other behavior. But when you begin to become aware of the fact that you can change your state of being, you can change your state of mind through the simple act of muscular release or stillness or silence, it's very empowering. You're not as afraid of being taken up or swept up in life. You're not as afraid of obsessive thought or worries or concerns because you know how to dampen them. You know how to bring yourself to a place of peace and quiet and stillness. So it's very empowering. So we've done the preliminary, deep breaths, stillness, silence. Deep breaths, stillness, silence. If you do nothing else, that's very, very helpful. But now we move into what I call the nuts and bolts of scanning, which is the actual incremental release of muscular tension. Again, squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. That sensation, that's it. I call that, when I'm doing it, gold. You've struck gold. That feeling, that sensation, that act of letting go of muscular tension, 3, 2, 1, release, is scanning. If you can do that throughout your day in some form or another, it can be your hands, it can be your face, the first zone, what I call it, 3, 2, 1, release. Anywhere, you will have expanded. You will have moved yourself away from contraction to expansion. So all I'm doing is offering you some options, some ways to do it. You can do it in any way you see fit, as long as you begin to embrace, understand, and master the act of muscular release. I've been doing it for 10 years. I still haven't completely mastered it. I'm more familiar with the process. I've seen its benefits, which motivates me to do it more. But it is the breaking of what I call the habit of contraction. We tend to think that the answer to everything is to think, to do, to talk, to argue, to worry, to act. What you're doing is you're retraining yourself, your consciousness, to embrace and understand that of equal value to contraction, doing, thinking, acting, is stillness, silence, emptiness, release. Equal value. Only when we do both are we centered. So I lived many, many years as a contracted person before I realized the value of expansion and made it my life's goal to master expansion because I understand now its value. So let's continue. We break the body into what I call 8 muscular zones. All we're going to do is work our way through the body, scan, as it were, the body, finding pockets of muscular tension to release. We start with zone 1, the face. 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, you have a sort of a drooping, sagging sensation. Note the difference between this and this. See what that feels like. This and this. This and this. You made the conscious decision to release muscular tension. You did that. You have the power to do that. You can do that throughout your entire body. Some areas are easier than others. Some are more familiar than others. But through practice, you will become an expert at that. And you can call upon the simple act of releasing muscular tension to bring your entire body, mind, and spirit into a calmer, more centered, more clear, peaceful place. Zone 1, the face. 3, 2, 1, and release. Again, take a moment to see what that felt like. That's scanning. That is incremental muscular release. That is expansion. You can't contract and expand at the same time. You can't make a fist and release a fist at the same time. You just expanded. However, incrementally, you've moved yourself away from a contractive state, and it's cumulative. So the more you do it, the more expanded you'll be, and the more your body will give into that process until, which happens occasionally, you come to a place of total peace and relaxation, total stillness and silence. You feel the need to go, no need to go anywhere, do anything, think anything. You forget your name. It just doesn't matter. You stop looking at the clock. It just doesn't matter. That's an expanded state. And it feels amazing because you feel safe, you feel clear, you feel calm. Can't live there. Got to get on with your life, but it's a great place to visit at least 2 or 3 times a day. The face, 3, 2, 1, and release. Moving on to zone 2, the top of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. And if it helps to think of the top of the head as connected to your brow, we walk around with a furrowed brow. Just think of relaxing all that worry, all that muscular tension in your brow. But basically, if you're unfamiliar with the muscular area, just keep practicing. Focus your energy there, and on your count, see if you can release even the most infinitesimal amount of muscular tension in the top of the head. 3, 2, 1, release. Now I felt a slight change. That's all that matters. The slightest release is as important as the biggest release. Any amount of expansion moves you away from contraction. The face, 3, 2, 1, and release. The top of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release, which leads us to, and we do this sort of in a flow because everything's connected. The back of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. And study. This is a form of study. You've taken it upon yourself to take some time to study your body, to study your muscles, how they work. Focus. How does the back of my head feel? It's connected to the neck, which is next. Can I tune into how much muscular tension is there? And on my count, can I release some of that tension? 3, 2, 1, and release. And you can. And you'll be delighted and amazed by how much control you actually have over your body. Again, it may seem very small, but you do have that control. You do have that ability. And again, it's cumulative. If you spend a certain amount of time doing this, you'll come to what I call the breakthrough point. For me, it's usually about 10 minutes. Your body's fighting you, resisting, and suddenly it just goes, all right, fine. And everything lets go. And you go, who is that? Your body feels completely different. I'm not familiar with that feeling. I carry so much tension in my body all day that it's become a natural thing for me. It's become a part of me. And when you let go of that kind of subterranean tension you didn't even know was there, you go like, who is that? What is that? What body is that? I've never felt like this. This feels like a completely different person. And you're going to want to revisit that place, that person. Zone 4, the neck, 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, the neck, 3, 2, 1, and release. So let's do the first 4. The face, 3, 2, 1. Release the top of the head, 3, 2, 1. The back of the head, 3, 2, 1. And the neck, 3, 2, 1. I snap my fingers. You don't have to because it reminds me of, in effect, flipping a switch. It takes energy and power to make a muscle contract. Either consciously or unconsciously, you're exerting effort. You're putting your energy towards contracting that muscle. When you decide to release that muscle, you stop using any power. There's no power required for a muscle to be relaxed. It just exists. So it's a sort of way of showing yourself you have the ability to turn off the power to those muscles. You don't have to snap. Again, customize this to suit your body. I have no idea what your body feels like. I think in general we have things in common as human beings, but your physical experience, your mental experience is completely your own. So as long as what you're doing is working towards muscular release, it doesn't matter how you approach it. It really doesn't. Zone 4 was the neck. Zone 5, the shoulders. Again, everything's connected. You'll begin to feel parts of your body relax. As you relax your face, you might begin to feel your pelvis relax. Everything's connected. The reason you have a breakthrough, which I would say at 10 minutes, is the whole body finally gets on board and says, oh, I see where we're going. All right, just let go. And you'll have this release. So don't be surprised if working in one area affects another. Again, any amount is helpful. The shoulders, let them drop. 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, the shoulders, 3, 2, 1, and release. If you haven't got the time to sit in a chair and actually do this process, Just listen back to the session, whatever you're doing. Just have it playing. You're building a consciousness of expansion, a consciousness of muscular release. You're making it a familiar part of your day. So you'd be surprised at how just sometimes listening to a description of the process can enhance and encourage the process. So look for little ways to expand. Little ways. Take a deep breath. Sit in stillness and silence. The shoulders, 3, 2, 1, and release. Zone 6, connected again, goes into the chest, stomach, front of the waist, 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. Be patient with yourself. You're breaking old habits, contractive habits. Be patient with yourself. Our toughest opponent is frequently ourself. You have habits which you've relied on to, in your mind, keep you safe, keep it together, keep you successful. You've built a structure, a way of being that you feel you must maintain in order to safely exist and thrive and succeed in life. It's true. To a degree, you do have to think, work, make things, take things apart. That's the contractive world, of course. All I'm doing is saying, bring a consciousness of the opposite side of that coin, expansion. Make that a part of your life as well. It is of equal value. Equal value. Well, how can sitting and doing nothing, sitting in silence and relaxing my muscles do anything? Because it brings you back to yourself. When you are fully expanded, or as expanded as you can be, you're more connected to what I call your base self. A human creature with no name, no career, no goals, no purpose, no sense of time, no sense of place, a place of nothingness. It's just a human being. All you're aware of is your breathing, the pulsing of your heart, the sounds in the room, the sense of what it is to simply exist. It's something we don't frequently take the time to do. That's your true self. That's of equal value to all you've achieved, because that is the fundamental basis of who you are. So when you visit that place and see how wonderful it is to simply exist and experience that, the sensations of being a human creature, taking a breath, being alive, you find peace, because you know that's all that's really necessary, is that you exist, and it's enough. Then when you go back to contracting, when you go back to your job, when you go back to your work, you go back to your thoughts and ideas, you have a foundation on which to build. Underneath all of that, underneath all of the things you've accumulated that you feel define you, the rows of books and titles and money, underneath all that is just you, just you. And once you know that's there, you can approach everything else with more confidence, because there's nothing to prove anymore. You have to function in this world. You have to achieve things. But underneath it all, you know you exist. And it makes everything better, because you have a sense of peace. You're not running trying to chase yourself all the time. You know you exist. You experience yourself. You've done that. You've come to a place of just pure existence. So there's no need to be afraid. You know who you are. So you go back to your contracting with more confidence and more proficiency. So they are of equal value. So again, zone 6, the chest, stomach, front of the waist, 3, 2, 1, and release. Now we're going to go to zone 7, down the back, past the waist, and into the all-important pelvis. A lot going on in the pelvic region. We hold a lot of tension there for obvious reasons. If you can begin to sense what it feels like to let go of tension in that area, you will take yourself far. 3, 2, 1, and release. I always describe it as a sort of an unclenching. We tend to be very clenched in that area. There's a lot of fear associated with the pelvic region for obvious reasons. So to find a way to let go of tension in that area, I'm just sensing myself, it's letting go of fear. Fear induces contraction. We contract to protect ourselves. It reduces your fear level as you release tension. And you'll find areas of your body which are associated for you personally with fear. Some people it's their neck. Some people it's their back. you'll hold your tension, your fears in that area. That's your safe zone. If I can just hold it together here in this part of my body, I'll be okay. So as you start to release, you may feel fear. You're letting go of your protection, your armor. And just move through that. You're safe. Nothing's happening. You're in a room, seated in a chair. Nothing's going to happen. And see if you can take that chance to experience what it is to let go. The pelvis, 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, the pelvis, 3, 2, 1, and release. And for many people, this may be the first time in a long time that they've actually let go of tension in a certain area. You know, you may feel like you can't get out of bed in the morning unless you're holding certain parts of your body together. This is why we have such neck and back pains, because we feel this necessity to hold. So you're training yourself, you're teaching yourself that you can afford to let go of that tension. And the way you make that happen is by saying it doesn't have to be an absolute complete release of tension. It can be small, small. Incremental, very important word. Any amount counts. Any. From this to this, from this to this, from this to this. That sensation is all you're trying to master. Last zone, down the legs, across the knees, and into the feet. Let the feet go, 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, the feet, 3, 2, 1, and release. A lot of tension in our feet. You may feel a tingling sensation. Some of the things you can expect to feel as you begin to expand and release muscular tension are tingling, pulsing. You're basically allowing your circulatory system to be free. The blood vessels and capillaries and veins are opening up. The blood is flowing more freely. Your blood pressure is dropping because of that, because your heart's not having to work so hard to pump the blood through your system. The veins and arteries and capillaries are opening. So your blood pressure drops. So you may feel tingling, you may feel warmth, and most importantly, you may feel an impulse to take a breath. When we are contracted, we tend to hold, contraction, hold our breath, another form of self-protection. So as you begin to release and expand, your body feels that it is safe to breathe. You've let go of that muscular tension, and what it's basically saying to you is, I've been oxygen depleted. You haven't been allowing me to breathe enough. I haven't been getting as much oxygen as I need. So as I now feel safe, I want to breathe. Will you let me breathe? Let yourself breathe. Take that breath. Just look for these signs. Now, I tend to move through these zones and processes very quickly because it's a half an hour, and I try to limit the sessions to a half an hour. So I move through fairly quickly. On your own, take as much time as you want. Stay on one zone as long as you want. Spend a half an hour just sitting in stillness and silence. As I said, customize this. You will know, you will learn for yourself what signs to watch for, ways you can incrementally release muscular tension. You will begin to understand yourself. And that's what's important. Not that I understand how your body works, but that you understand how your body works. So that you can move it in the direction you wish it to go, from contraction to expansion. There are a million people and processes out there who will teach you how to contract. That's good. My job is to teach you how to expand. And I hope you will take that to heart and continue this practice on your own over the course of the, days, weeks, months. Make it a part of your life and see what it does for you. See how you feel. And be patient. As I said, any amount of muscular release, any amount, the most incremental breath. 10 seconds of stillness and silence. Letting the tension go in your face. 3, 2, 1, release. Any amount is of tremendous value. So be patient. That's it for today. I'll repost this session on my Facebook page if you missed any of it or want to, just as I said, just sit and listen to it, kind of absorb it. And I'll also post it on the Sqanning Facebook page, Sqanning. Sqanning is the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. Make that part of your life. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.